All right, I think we're live. It's going to be a little different. We had some technical difficulties. So hopefully I'll take care of that. It's a good time for anyone who has any questions or anything like that to add them in. I'm going to start out by just, I guess, giving you guys an overview of our new shop and what's going on with that. About a year ago, we really decided that we needed to look for a new space. We'd pretty much outgrown where we were at, needed to expand some equipment, buy some new things, wanted to get into some other areas like anodizing and nickel plating, and couldn't do it. We didn't have the room for the equipment. So really hard to go from not having a mortgage to kind of having a lease on a place. So we really put it off, and it.
You have no video or audio yet.
Okay, there's 8 people in here.
I understand, but I'm sitting here watching you on my screen and I'm asking them, can you see them? And they're like, no video or audio yet. So it just says waiting for Branson.
It says I can see and hear.
Remember. Oh, hey, there they are. Woohoo! Okay,
okay, great, thanks. Apparently Laura's the only one that couldn't see it here. Anyway, so we found a space that we're going to move into hopefully within the next month or so. Maybe it may end up being about 6 weeks, but we're basically going to go from around 1,000 square feet to 4,000 square feet. The other nice thing that's going to do is let us get all of the different parts of our business out of here. We're going to go, where we're at now, we're kind of scattered around the same building, and it's going to allow us to kind of consolidate everything all into one area. So we're going to go from kind of a shop area, and then, down the hallway is the office, and then, downstairs is this room, that room, to everything's going to all be in one central location. And we're going to have a couple of offices. We're going to be able to get the cutters and the noisier equipment as far as office things go, and put that over on the other side of the building in its own room. So it'll be a lot quieter. So we're really excited about that. We're going to be able to expand to a second booth, 2 more ovens, another sandblast cabinet. We're going to go ahead and get into the anodizing, the nickel plating. We're looking at maybe doing some small scale powder coating, some other things. So we're real excited about that. Thanks, David. We're real excited about it. Our landlord's an awesome guy. He owns an auto auction here in Branson, so he's really been helping us out a lot. He's basically gutted this building for us, and we couldn't have asked for a better person to get into this with us. So now that we've gotten through all that, we do have, I mentioned in the other video, we do have our Mylars finally has come in, and we've gotten several designs up. We're going to have more designs hopefully coming in the next few weeks. We've got our patches, and we've also got our stickers in. We're also going to get our hopefully more patches that we've ordered. Hopefully those will be in the next week or 2 with some other different designs and things. So hopefully we'll be able to get those in and kind of get those up in the store and let everybody see them. Other than that, everybody, if you've got any questions or anything you want answered, now's a great time to do it. It's instant feedback time. So hit me with some questions, or just like common problems you guys are having or anything like that.
Aaron's on there from Let's Lingers.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, Bradley. That different multicams and stuff. One of the things that we do that we talk about a lot in training is that it's really easy to do the traditional stuff. You can do multicam the traditional way or things like that, but in order to stay, at least I feel relevant in this industry, you've really got to kind of step outside of the norm, so that your projects don't end up looking like everyone else's projects that do the same thing. So we've gotten really good, I think, at being able to take that, a type of camo or a type of pattern and really expand it and make it better. So we'd love to do something custom for you. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Let's see.
Let me go through their things.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on yet.
Okay. Well, there were some people that were on, and hopefully they stayed because we were having issues.
Yeah, we had an email question. Let me pull that up real quick.
I do have a question.
Sure.
What exactly would you do with a Mylar stencil?
You're killing me.
Well, they give people ideas of what they can do with them.
A lot of what we've designed in Mylar for, they're 6x9. It would be really hard to try and do like a complete pattern with a Mylar stencil, especially on an AR, to get it to kind of go up and over the forward assist and the brass deflector and things, because in order to make it rigid enough to be a reusable stencil, it's too rigid to be completely flexible, or it just wouldn't be durable enough. So what the Mylar that we've got designed is mainly for is to almost like the rip tile pattern, where you have a solid color with some type of an accent pattern underneath it, and then you lay stencils on top. So what we do a lot of is we'll have a traditional pattern, and then we'll go back with those accent stencils and just add little areas of kind of a contrast color with a contrasting like pattern on there to make our stuff stand out from other people. Let's see what Bradley's got here. Oh, SOCOM, even better, man. I'd love to do a. I love 458 SOCOM. So we're actually hopefully going to be doing if I can find the right barrel, we're hoping to do about a 8-inch 458 SOCOM full auto suppressed here shortly. Our 07, we just switched over to an 07. As soon as that comes in, it's already done. We're just waiting on the paper copy, which should be here Monday or Tuesday. We're going to go ahead and get our 02. We've already got a guy here locally that builds full auto. He does a lot of like World War I, World War II machine guns. He's going to build us some pretty cool stuff. We've got a Uzi already purchased and some other things that he's going to build for us, a Thompson. So we're excited about that. But I've got a small chassis that I'm dying to build a 458 full auto kind of pistol length with a collapsible on it. So that'd be cool. All right. David Brown. Snakeskin, getting ready to do a snakeskin pattern as soon as Laura gets it designed. What would be your advice on how to pull it off as far as make it multicolor? Yeah, if you're waiting on Laura, you may be waiting a while.
No, I've
she's
got some
very
patterns.
slow.
Yeah,
she makes excuses.
Fixing them is
doing something like that. It's sort of like doing Cryptek. You lay down one or two colors, then lay the actual pattern down, like the netting, the snake skin, or whatever, and then you just do shading from there. So it's almost like airbrushing, but I use the Iwata for that. So you would just kind of fade those two or three other colors in, or for like a snake skin, you may do green on the outside of the pattern and a little bit of brown and then a little bit of a sand color, so that when you peel that webbing up, the scales themselves may have a couple of colors in it, but it also gives you that kind of fade from the the green or brown on the outside to the lighter colors on the inside. So it sounds complicated, but it's really not once you kind of sit down and think about it. Throw it on a cup first. That's an easy way to practice on something that's curved, but it's flat. There's no protrusions, and it's only like $6 or $7 for a cup. So that'd be my best advice. And if you run into any problems, just shoot me a call. Let's see. My buddy from ATF.
He was on the other broadcast, so I just went to the other broadcast to tell people that you're on this one to get off the other one.
For whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because my iMac is like 1,000 years old, but it just would not link up with the webcam. So we went and grabbed the laptop real quick and had to restart everything. So sorry, brother.
Oh, and the guy, the gunsmith, he also has one called, if you can't get it to stream, you can connect through StreamYard. So we need to check that out.
We'll check that out for next time. Yeah. Let's see, final accuracy. On the LPH80, do you have a baseline ratio you use for pattern and fluid? Sarah Kurt recommends 1 turn on the pattern and 2 on the fluid. on the top knob is your fan, so that's the one that is going to control just how wide you spray. Generally, the only two settings I use on the Iwata are all the way to the right, so it's all the way closed, and that's what you'll use to get like the inside areas, like inside of a receiver. So you'll just kind of tap the trigger, or whatever your number is straight up when it's completely closed. Whether it doesn't matter what number it is, but whatever that number is, go two past that, and then whatever that number is, go all the way back around to that number again. So if it's you start out on 1, you'll go to 3, and then all the way back around to 3, and that's going to give you that 4-inch fan that you're looking for. Any narrower than that, you tend to get a little bit of buildup because it's a little too concentrated. Any wider, and you're wasting a lot of coating. As far as the volume, which is the next knob down, the one that the needle is in front of, there's no real setting for that one because they're all a little bit different thicknesses. So you really have to go to a piece of test paper or cardboard on the wall, get your 4 or 5 inches from that, and just tap the trigger. And what you're looking for is a blob that you can't see through once it hits and it kind of soaks in. You don't want to be able to see the material, the paper or whatever behind it, but you don't want it to be so heavy that it kind of builds a scab up almost and you can't see through it. So you want a nice wet blob that kind of soaks in and you can't see the paper through it, then you're good to go. As long as you keep that same distance from the project you're spraying, you shouldn't have any issues. You do have to contour and things while you're spraying, but you shouldn't have orange peel. You shouldn't have any other issues. So hopefully that answered that. Let's see, gun snob, you might want to put a link on the stream, the other chat. I think there are people.
Yeah,
Oh, yikes. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you got it working. Thank you, Jonathan. Jose, no, I have not used the gun candy with the H301. The H series clear coat, there are a lot of issues with that. And I think the biggest issue that people have with it is you have to treat the H series clear like you do. It's like it's the last color of Cerakote. So you tack everything out, and then as you get to that, then that goes on last, and then you bake everything all the way through. The problem with that is if your base coat's a little too tacked out, it's gotten a little too hard, that clear coat doesn't want to stick to it. So we've always just used the MC 156 and 157. The 156 is high gloss. I figure if someone's using gun candy, they're going to want it to sparkle and everything anyway. So we've just always mixed it with the 156. That is an air cure. You spray it on there, give it a couple of good, kind of light passes till the color comes out. Set aside, just ignore it for a week, and then go on. As long as your customer understands that up front, that it's going to take a week for it to all cure out, then they're usually good to go with that. Let's see. Jonathan, as far as barrels, if you're talking about pistol barrels, you really, in my opinion, you shouldn't coat pistol barrels with H series. They're really not. It's not designed for that kind of wear, I guess. It's going to wear really quickly, and it's going to get chewed up, and it's going to end up looking like crap. If you're going to do pistol barrels, I'd recommend using either Micro Slick or Elite Series. And if you use either one of those, then you don't really have to worry about the feed ramps. On rifles, you really don't go heavy inside the chamber area anyway, so it's just not really an issue. Just kind of give it that tap just to give it enough of a corrosion layer in there that you don't have to worry about it, rusting or having any corrosion issues. Let's see. Absolutely, Bradley. We'll get a hold of you once we get all set up. Let's see. One Knife Pro, the average thickness, you need to be between 1 and 2 mil. I can tell you the most common problem we see as far as like in training and things is people being way, way, way thin, probably, a third of a mil. And I think that biggest issue is because people spray and they're worried about it running like paint, and they just spray enough to change the color, but there's not enough of a layer there to actually give you abrasion resistance. So if it's sprayed correctly and it'll look like you're spraying way too much, it's going to be in that 1 to 1.5 mil range usually. I don't think I really get towards the 2 mil end of things all that often. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Thank you, Gun Snob. We'll check that one out. Jonathan Vogel, how long were you self-taught before you pursued the certified training? When I first got into this, I kind of dove in. I have a retirement from law enforcement. I was injured on duty, and I have a retirement, so I never needed this to put food on the table, and it also allowed me to pretty much sink quite a bit of money in right up front to get really good equipment and everything else. Even back 6.5 years ago, Cerakote was still about 18 months out. So by the time I signed up as soon as my FFL came in. So as soon as I kind of got my time to go out there, I hit the booth. They put you in the booth. They want you to spray, and then they check where you're at. And I thought, well, I've been doing this for almost 2 years. I'm good. I was very, very thin. So I kind of self-taught myself. Kind of, there wasn't a whole lot of YouTube videos, things like that. So when I went out there to the training, once I came back, what it did for me, I think I had a lot more a better understanding of the coding and the gun, and I had a lot more confidence in what I was doing, and kind of hit the ground from there. And then it's just a matter of practice and being willing to try different things and put different colors together and things like that. I do recommend going to some type of training, and I don't want it to sound like we're I'm trying to sell people and come to our training, but some type of training, either a shop that'll let you come hang out, or if you can afford to go to training. It's really easy to get into this and think you're doing it correctly and you're not, and then have it basically ruin your business before you even get it off the ground. Let's see. Oh man, ATF! I got rid of those clips about a year ago. You're probably having the same problem I did, where they just don't stay attached in the oven and you're dropping cups. And I just honestly started taping the whole mouth off, just completely closing up. I flip them over and I cook them or spray them on just a piece of cardboard and throw that in the oven on a shelf, and it does great at 180. So, I was worried at first about the cardboard catching on fire or whatever, but there's just zero issues. So, just flip them upside down, spray them, do whatever you need to do. They cycle in out of the oven. I do put them in the oven. We have a metal shelf that I can slide in and out of the oven. I put them in there on the cardboard, but I do put that cardboard on a piece of plywood to just kind of diffuse that heat a little bit before it gets into the cup. Knife Pro, the chrome that we're looking at doing, or the nickel plating we're looking at doing, I was checking on that today actually. It looks like the equipment we're going to buy is also going to allow us to do chrome plating and copper plating. So that's probably pretty close to what you're talking about doing. So I'm hoping probably by maybe March or April we'll be up and running on that. I want to get the anodizing up and going pretty quickly, because I think that's something we can make a lot of money on, really, in a short amount of time. And also because we have a lot of in-house stuff that we do that we would benefit from the anodizing. But we definitely want to get into nickel plating. We have a friend that sends a lot of stuff off for nickel plating. So if we're already doing the nickel plating, it would make sense for us to go ahead and do the chrome and the copper plating too. Let's see. Gun Snob, learned a lot from you down there. Appreciate that. I've ordered stencils. We definitely appreciate that. So does my landlord. Do we have a gun shop in Branson? We don't have a gun shop. We're not really set up for retail. We have a shop here in Branson. The one we're going to move into will be a lot more conducive to having people come by. There'll be a lot more signage and things like that. But if you're down here, I mean, just shoot us a call. As long as we have somebody around, we'll be more than happy to have you come by. The new shop also, the other thing that we've done in the last probably 3 months or so is we've gone from it being about a 3-person operation to a 7-person operation. So we've hired a lot more people. We've got a young lady named Mia that I've mentioned and thrown on Instagram a couple of times that is going to be taking over a lot of the graphic arts from Laura to free up more of Laura's time to kind of manage some more of the other sections of our business. Mia's going to be kind of our full-time person that's going to be there all day, every day type of thing. So It's going to be a lot easier for us to have people just kind of pop in than it is currently where, if I'm got to run to the post office or if I'm spraying, it's kind of harder to have people come by. But as long as we know you're coming, we have people come by all the time. Let's see. Jonathan, we do take requests for custom stencils. It's really going to depend on the file you have. And it depends on the time. Right now, with the move and everything, we don't have a real lot of time to do custom stuff. But if it's something where you have a file that's pretty much cut ready, we can drop it into the cutters and cut them out for you. It's really something you just need to email Laura, and she'll take a look at it for you and let you know one way or the other if it's something we can do. Let's see. I know Cerakote recommends 300 degrees. I see you bake at 250 a lot. May I ask why is it better from David Brown? The problem with 300 is if you throw like Stormtrooper white, if you throw that in the oven at 300 for an hour, it's going to turn brown. So the only difference between 250 and 300 is the hour. It's the same hardness. You're going to have the same product at the end. The 300 just allows you to finish your project up an hour earlier. To me, I get more irritated with having to redo something that I've just spent, X amount of time getting prepped and done than it does to waste an hour, with something in the oven just cooking away, which is normally at the end of the day anyway. And I'm not cycling stuff in and out of the oven. So that's why I bake at 250. Let's see. Stuff scrolling away from me a little bit. Gun Snob, I've tried those rubber inflatable the pressure plugs. That's actually what they had when I went out to the Cerakote training out in Oregon. The problem I've had, and maybe you can find them at a better place or something, is they're pretty expensive and they seem to not last all that long in the oven before they just kind of pop. So I don't know. I kind of got to a point where the expense of them just really didn't justify, having them around. So that's why I kind of figured out some other stuff. But yeah, if you've got a hookup for them where they're not, all that expensive, I was paying, I think like $52, $53 for them. Hit me up. I'd definitely be willing to, or interested in knowing that. Let's see. David Brown, 19 months now. I just paid my deposit this week for 2022 before I get to go. Yeah, the big benefit to paying your deposit, though, even if it is going to be a couple of years, is you start getting that discount as soon as you pay the deposit. So one of the things I've really talked to people about and stressed a lot in training is that I've gotten probably $800 worth of free coating just in the last year from being a certified applicator. So you really have to look at their training, especially if you're fairly competent at this. If you're spraying it correctly, you have to look at their training as not what they're going to give to you. It's what you can kind of take from them. So, being a certified applicator is great, but if you can, before you even go out there in 2 years, get your money back from them to where it's already paid for itself before you even go out there, then that's even better. So, that 20% discount and the free coating and all that, when you have a $35 4-ounce bottle that's going to cost you, I think $23 is what we pay for them. That adds up pretty quickly, especially when you're ordering a lot of coating. We don't order a lot of 4-ounce bottles just because there's more of a price break when you buy the bigger bottles. But we'll buy those when they're kind of weird one-off, sick pink type colors where we may not really, have that color that color's just going to hang around for a while till it ends up probably going in the trash, or we can kind of work it into some other kind of project. Let's see. As far as Missouri, Mangy Badger, I love that name. Missouri with the social distancing. We're here in Branson. We're a town of 10,500, but we get about 8 million visitors a year. One thing that we've really noticed is when you go somewhere like Walmart or you go to the grocery store or, any of the kind of retail places, everyone wears a mask. I mean, Branson has a mask ordinance right now, but when you're out going to like our big pedestrian mall here is called Branson Landing, you really don't see anybody wearing them. We haven't really had a lot of it here, but I think it's kind of hit and miss. I'm really honestly surprised we haven't had it more with as big of a tourist area as we are, but they're pretty good. If you'd feel better, I guess I could put a mask on. Let's see. Get your table. Use for cups. Oh, David Brown, get your table for use for cups. Got a commercial of it, so I can roll it out now. I've got a little turntable that came with our sandblast cabinet, so it's free. I tell everybody that comes to training, just go to Walmart and buy like a little wooden Lazy Susan that they have over in the kitchen department. Put the cardboard on there, spin it. I just put brackets in our oven that I can slide a little metal shelf on, and I just pop them in there. We really don't do a lot of cups anymore unless it's orders of like 10 or more, just because of, in that hour to do a cup, I could make $40, or in that hour, I can make $300 doing something else. It's just cost wise, unfortunately, it's gotten to where we don't do a lot of cups. I enjoy cups. They're a lot of fun. You can kind of get creative with them, and people don't lose their mind if it's not, exactly what they had when in mind when they come in, because it is still just a cup. But we just don't do a whole lot of them anymore. We do them in training though. Let's see.
Liability waiver. Jonathan.
Just a sec. Mangy Badger, yeah, we do training here in our shop. There's info on our website about it, but yeah, we absolutely do training. Like I said, I don't ever want to feel like I'm kind of pushing our training. I do feel like it's really good training. We give Cerakote gives you 2 days. We give you 3 for roughly the same price. We do give you a $300 stencil pack and some other little things. We throw lunches in, that type of thing, but we cannot factory certify you. So, they do have that kind of, I guess, marketing kind of angle from it. You do get quite a bit of business. I mean, it's worth going out there to get certified, if for no other reason than getting the discounts and the business you get from being factory certified. But our training, I feel like, is really good. It's more student driven than it is kind of corporate driven. Having been out there and then having done our training for going on 3 years, their training is very structured, and ours is a lot more fluid on what do you want to know when you come out here. So if you're interested, just hit us up. We'll be happy to send you some information. Let's see. Oh, as far as social distancing, as far as the training goes,
we laugh.
We kind of, I guess, treat people as adults. Don't come out here if you're sick. We're not sick. We get tested pretty, frequently with Laura's job, and we keep a pretty good eye on us. Laura's a full-time nurse, so we tend to not get stressed out about it. We tend to look at things as we're all adults, and take responsibility for yourself type of thing. I don't particularly need the government to tell me that I need to stand 6 feet from someone or wear a mask. So, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Cover your ass.
All right.
Liability waiver, Jonathan.
Well, I'm getting there. Oh, I don't even see that one on here. Oh, I'm not even that far yet. So
no, I can tell you right now. You just need to go down to there.
Laura, will you stop? You're on this. That's what happens when you're married to somebody who owns half your business. All right. Gun snob, a Cerakote is a hobby. I have a background in auto body. Gun is for fun, so I appreciate all the videos. Thank you. I'm like I said earlier, I'm retired law enforcement. I was retired at 40 and just had to have something to do, and thought, well, I like guns, I like money, so this seemed like a cool industry to get into, and I absolutely love it. I hate sandblasting. Hate it with an absolute passion, but I really enjoy once it gets to the point where I'm in the booth, have an absolute blast with it. So great industry to get into. Let's see. Jonathan. Any type of liability waiver when coding? Do you feel this is necessary even if you have all but eliminated disassembly and reassembly? We don't do any type of waiver. I haven't really run into anything where I felt like we needed to. I mean, we're like any other business. I think when you have something come up, then you change the way you do things to correct that problem or to address an issue that comes up. We've never had it be an issue. We did have one issue in training where a guy who was here for training had actually coded a gun that had blown up. But the more we dug into it with him throughout that day, it was not the Cerakote that did it. It was a really cheap gun they coded, and then a kid snuck the gun out to go shoot it, put +B+ ammo in it, and it blew the slide up. So it wasn't the Cerakote. By not disassembling and reassembling, I think that really helps us a lot. And also the fact that we're factory certified. I've done thousands of guns. You just know what you're doing, and I'm not worried about it. And I wouldn't want someone to feel like they were signing something to give up any rights they had if I screwed something up. If I caked some Cerakote into their barrel and it blew their gun up, I would expect to be held accountable for that. So I don't know. We've just never really worried about it. If something comes up, then we'll readdress it, I guess. Let's see. Mangy Banjer, assume no problem with removing the stencil after the tacking the coat. So here's how I handle stencils. Spray your base coat, air cure it, throw it in the oven, bake it till it's tack free, pull it out, let it cool, and just repeat that cycle for all your stencils. So when I get down to, I spray my last color on. So that's really the color that covers up all your overspray and gives definition to your pieces. And that's going to kind of look like what everybody assumes is your base coat, but it's really your last coat. So when I'm to that point, air cure, pop it in the oven at 180 for about 15 minutes to get it good and tacked out. At that point, I pull it out of the oven, everything out of the oven, and I peel the stencils at that point. I do that for a couple of reasons. One, there is on occasion, depending on if the item, if you cook it for, the final bake 250 for 2 hours or 300 for an hour, there have been times where if you pull it out and you don't let it cool all the way down to room temp and you peel those stencils off, that you can get some adhesive transfer and it doesn't go away. You've got to sand the item down and redo it. And two, the other reason why I do, you don't get that if you just peel the stencils off after about 15 minutes because it's still soft. They just peel right off and you don't have adhesive transfer. The other reason why I do that after about 15 minutes is if I peel the stencils off and something's screwed up and I've got to redo that gun, it's not hard baked, it's still soft. It just blasts right off in the sandblast cabinet. So, I don't ever leave them in there till it's all the way, kind of at the end. I peel them off after about 15 minutes. Okay. Jonathan, stencils are fantastic. I purchased a lot in the last 2 weeks. They work great. We really appreciate that. We appreciate your business. We've worked really hard and spent a lot of money to kind of, I guess, become, if not the top stencil sales company for these type of stencils in the country, then absolutely the top 2 or 3. Laura's not down here anymore, so I'm going to take complete credit for that. Let's see. As far as we got Jonathan again, methods to track new customers that have little or no knowledge about Cerakote. I can tell you that Instagram has been really a really good technique for us, or a really good tool for attracting new customers, because I think a lot of people scroll, and if your projects, I mean, we follow a lot of stuff, a lot of hashtags, and that controls what goes into your feed. So as you're scrolling and nothing wrong with them. But when I've looked at the 50th picture of a black gun where their tag is that, added a new set of scope rings, I don't stop on those pictures anymore. So I'm scrolling looking for cool guns or guns with, really neat patterns or things like that. And that's the type of stuff we upload. I don't upload somebody just wants flat dark earth on their chassis, because there's a lot of that out there. So Instagram's a big one for us. Also, YouTube. Our YouTube channel is by no means any kind of juggernaut on the platform, but that YouTube channel doubled our business within about 1 year. And I think a lot of that is because there's a lot of videos out there with Cerakote where they skip a lot of steps. So they compress it down and it's more of a kind of a commercial for their shop. And here, look at this, the project we did versus ours are a little more, I guess, informative, where, we do kind of cover the bases and show you everything that we do. And I think that builds a lot of confidence in for the consumers, as far as, they see how we do it. They know what kind of work we do, and they see the end result. And also, another big thing with YouTube, and it's just the way I guess I was raised, or just the way I am, but I do try really, really hard. Occasionally one of them will slip through, but I answer all the comments that are on there. I just think that's just, being polite to people that take the time to leave you a comment. You should at least acknowledge that. So, I don't know. But those are two big ones for us. We have done some local advertising, but I'd say probably 60, maybe 65% of our business comes in from around the country. We get mail-in business versus kind of walk-in business is maybe about 30, 35% local. Bobby, do you need to be a certified gunsmith to coat and charge for guns? You don't need to be a certified gunsmith, but you do have to have an FFL. It is considered gunsmithing because you're altering the firearm, and ATF does require you to have an FFL. Depending on which ATF agent or IOI you talk to, they will tell you just get an 01 and be good with it. I would recommend you get your 07. We operate under an 01 forever, and that's fine. It really wasn't a huge issue for us until we got into laser engraving. And then now we are considered a manufacturer, so we have to have the 07. If you're going to apply for it, you're better off just going ahead and getting the 07 right up front, which will also allow you to buy lowers, buy uppers, buy all this stuff, complete a gun, build it, code it, and sell it, versus being able to just buy completed ARs, tear them back down, code them, put them back together, and then sell them. So it gives you more options on what you can do. And it's actually a little bit cheaper. I think it's $250 for the 01. It's $150 for the 07. Another kind of thing that I didn't really understand until we really started digging into this, and also talking to our buddy Miles, who's an 07, 02, is that once you have your 07, you can get your 02 SOT and really do some cool stuff and make some extra money, and also own some really fun stuff. So that's kind of where we're headed. Let's see. David Brown, still interested in coming to your training, maybe next spring if you get an opening for just a single person. If you get just 2 and 3, need to fill not to fill class. Absolutely. We're hoping that when we open this new shop, it will allow us to do some things we can't currently do. And one of those is that we're looking to maybe start, we do a lot of single classes. We're looking to see if maybe we can, knock some money off of the cost of the class and combine, a couple of people that, aren't coming together, that are just 2 single people that are, booking together, and then, put them in the same class and just save them a little bit of money, and, get 2 people through at the same time. One of my, I guess, big, I won't call it a complaint, but things I've never understood about Cerakote is, they only run 4 people a week through their training. And for us, it's not really been a huge issue because we're not booked that far out, but we're starting to kind of get to the edge of that. And I don't ever want to get to a point where we have to tell people, oh, we're a year out. So if we could use that to kind of move some people in. We're also looking at hiring another applicator and probably making that applicator strictly training, have them do just training. So maybe we can run 2 classes a week, that type of thing. So definitely want to keep the time limit down. We don't want to have, people have to wait several months to get in. If we can get them in within, 6 weeks or so. Let's see. ATF, sandblasting. God, I hate that. Luckily, we've got a guy that, at least maybe it's because I'm paying him, but he says he doesn't mind it. So I just use and abuse him. How many coats are past you? Jose, how many coats or past you generally give apart when Cerakoting? From what I understand, when I went out to the factory training, they taught 1 good wet coat, and you just overlap as you work your way around. From what I've been told, they're now teaching 2 lighter passes that are a little bit quicker. I don't think I would go that route. I tend to go 1 good 1+ mil coat. In my mind, it doesn't make sense to take 2 passes at something, because now you've doubled your opportunity to have an issue, with orange peel or dry spray or something else. So I'm going to, and honestly, I've been doing it for 6.5 years. I'm going to continue to do it the way I'm doing it as long as I don't have issues. So we do 1 good wet pass and overlap by about 1/3 with each pass. A lot of stuff, AR lowers and uppers, hand guards, things like that. A lot of it is angles. So you'll do 45 degrees back and forth, and that will get all those little nooks and crannies without having to do multiple passes in one area. So, generally just 1 good wet coat. You'll see it kind of layer up as you're spraying it, and you're good to go. Let's see. David Brown, been using nothing but your stencils for over a year now. Yours is the best in the market. I appreciate that. And in all honesty, all joking aside, that comes right back to Laura, being, having her background in graphic arts has allowed us to design our things in a way that not only are they good cut lines, they're correct, things like that, but then I take them out to the shop and I actually use them. And if, we've had a lot of stencil patterns where I've gone back in and said, this piece is too big, or we need more of this piece, that type of thing. So we can go in and tweak them to where they're not just designed well, they're actually practical for, the types of projects that we do. You guys' shops are probably a lot like ours. The majority of what you're going to do are either going to be Glocks or AR-15s. And, so our patterns are sized either for rifles or pistols. And, the majority of them are going to be those 2, AR platforms or mid-size to, Glock type pistols. So, but I appreciate the feedback. There are times where you just really don't know if, what you're putting out there is what people are wanting anyway. How long will Cerakote last? It's from Angie Badger. How long will Cerakote last if stored above 80 degrees? You live in Arizona. Talking about the temperatures out there. The problem with Cerakote, and the reason why Cerakote goes bad is, or one of the reasons, is that as it heats up and cools down, as it gets warm and it expands and it cools off, you lose a little bit of solvent around the seal on the lid. So the key to keeping it, I guess, sprayable for the longest period of time is put it in a mini fridge. We've got 2 of them currently. We're going to scrap those once we move and just go ahead and get hit a yard sale or something and get a full size fridge. But those fridges, the mini fridges, are set at about 55 degrees, and it stays within 5 degrees up or down of that all year round. So it just keeps everything at a constant temp, and it keeps you from having, any kinds of issues. The only thing you got to keep in mind is take it out, let it room up to whatever room temp it is, whether it's a little cooler or a little warmer. Let it get to that room temp before you actually spin it up and spray it. Let's see. Do you have any insight about how Cerakote performs last on different woods compared to metals and plastics? From Jonathan. We haven't sprayed wood in quite a while. I have done a few pieces over the years. The kind of the problem with spraying wood is it ends up looking almost like plastic. it really doesn't look all that great with Cerakote on it. You can do it. One of the suggestions I give to people is don't actually sand down all the way down to the wood, as far as like sand through the lacquer, all the way through the stain, all the way down to bare wood, unless you can like put on a belt sander and do that, like get it down to bare wood, and then just take your sandblaster and just give it a real good scuff. But if you're going to leave the lacquer and everything on there, just scuff that lacquer. That'll be more than enough for that Cerakote to stick to. The problem in the sandblast cabinet, if you're not careful, you can scuff that lacquer and you can go down into the wood, and then once you spray it, that low area just pops out at you and is like really, really obvious. So wood's a tricky one. Like I said, we haven't done it in a long time, but I've never, even the parts that we do, it just really doesn't turn out right. I don't really like the way it looks, and I've recommended to customers when they've come in that, hey, either go spend a little extra money and get a polymer stock, or if you're really happy with the way wood looks and you like the wood on a gun, just go get the wood, refinished instead of Cerakoting it. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's a personal thing, but I just don't like the way it turns out. Let's see. I've heard that from Mangy Badger, Cerakote says don't store it in a running fridge. I've heard that. I have a personal opinion on that, but I've never actually called out there and asked them why. They will tell you that their coating is good for 1 year, and then you need to pitch it. I've got bottles that are 2 years old that spray fine. So I would almost say, trying to be a little bit diplomatic, what would be a motivation for telling you not to put it into a device that would make it last longer? I don't know. But I've never had an issue. We've never had, I can tell you in the last 5 years, since I did go out to the factory and got, like I said, a lot more comfortable, fix the spraying issue I had where I was spraying thin. Once I came back and really got comfortable in 5 years, 5+ years, I've never had an adhesion issue, never had, I just don't have issues at all with the coating. So, even some of these little things I do, I will try, when I bought my first mini fridge, I put one bottle in there and messed with that bottle for a month before I put the rest of them in there, to make sure I wasn't going to have any issues. Just sprayed it on spare parts, went and beat them up a little bit, and didn't have any issues. Same thing when we switched over to Simple Green. I started out with just a bucket and put some parts in there to see if there were going to be issues. And then once I was, pretty sure that there weren't going to be issues, then I switched over. So, if I started having issues, then I would start diagnosing and see what the problem was. But I don't know. I've never been able to get a complete answer as to why they say don't put it in the fridge, other than, it lasts longer. So I don't know. Let's see. ATF, C-Series clear coats. Have you ever been able to get them to spray and lay down really flat and smooth like gloss on a car? All the times I've tried, you can never get to look great. Tell you a quick story. So right before I went out to the factory to get certified is when they came out with a clear coat. So I bought a bottle. If they've got something new, I want to know how it works. So bought a bottle, ran to the booth, sprayed it. It ran everywhere. It looked like crap. So I threw it in trash. I'm like, this stuff is junk. So I go out to the factory, and I asked them, I had a whole list of questions. I'm like, what's the deal with the clear coat? So it's kind of start walking them through how I sprayed it. And they're like, oh, no. You got to spray it at 30 PSI, or you get runs. And I'm like, crap, that'd be nice to know. So the best advice I can give you, two things I tell people when they come to training. One, spray it at 30 PSI through a cheap gun, $20 Walmart gun with a metal cup. Don't spray it through your Iwata. It'll eventually destroy it. And don't actually use the air from the gun. Don't actually use that to spray it onto the item that you're trying to put the clear coat on. Get back about 12 inches or so and throw just a mist at it and let that mist just kind of fall where it's going to fall. Versus, like I said, just trying to spray it on there, because that air seems to want to put too much all in one spot, and then you get runs or you get just really uneven areas. So you just want to kind of throw a good wet mist on there, and then that'll usually take care of it. Gun candy's a little different because of that weight of that flake that's in there, that pearl. You can't do it like that. You've got to go really light with it and do a couple, maybe 3 lighter misty passes to get it to kind of layer up and without having it sag. But yeah, the clear coats, something that a lot of people have issues with. But that when I use those cheap guns, I don't even break them all the way down. I just flush them out with acetone, and after about 6 weeks they die, and I throw them in the trash and grab another one. Thank you, Jose, for the feedback. Like I said, that a lot of times I do these videos and things. I'm not sure if they're even what people are looking for. So any feedback you guys can give me or ideas. I always struggle for ideas on videos. So if you have something that you'd love to see a video on that you're having a problem with, or something you want me to try, I mean, I honestly I love getting the ones of what do you get when you mix Prison Pink and whatever together. I like those videos because they're things that I probably wouldn't carve the time out to do on my own, but when it's a topic for a video, I can kind of justify it. Mixing some crazy colors together. That's something we do in training, and it always ends up being kind of the fun last part of the third day afternoon is just kind of getting crazy colors out and mix them together and seeing what we get. So anything, I mean, techniques, things like that. I mean, I've found new techniques or had people tell me about a technique they heard about, and I've kind of dug into a little bit and then actually practiced it in a video trying to figure it out and had that turn out. And now it's techniques that we use in the shop. So it was all from people recommending them as a topic for the videos. Let's see. Jonathan, you mentioned earlier in this video that you used to spray too light. As a beginning applicator, I've been struggling to balance what I see as wet coat and spraying too much. Could you give a vague example of what I should be seeing as it's being applied? This is going to sound like a really weird visual thing, but if you spray and all you're doing is changing the color, it's generally going to be way too thin. And one of the best indicators on if you're too thin is if you put it in the oven, tack it out, and then you get out and you rub it and it's rough, or you can kind of feel the metal, it's not smooth at all, then you sprayed way too thin. But the best kind of analogy I could come up with in my head with this is as you're spraying, you should almost see, it's almost like a snow plow going through the snow. You see kind of that ridge build up on the front end of it. That's kind of what you're looking for when you're spraying. You want to be able to see that Cerakote kind of layer up as you're spraying, and kind of keep moving, and it'll be nice and wet and smooth behind it, and you're just kind of plowing that lane down the item. So another thing I see a lot in training, and it's I get it, it's a kind of a human nature thing. Once you've got your coat on there, you want to avoid kind of going back and doing the and kind of touching up. Don't do that, because you're going to end up with shiny areas in there, whether it's a little heavier here, a little lighter there type of thing. If you've got an area that just isn't quite what it needs to be, you want to do a complete pass through that area just a little bit faster than your base coat, and it'll get whatever lightness or whatever you have there. Another common thing, or another potential problem, like if you're spraying shimmer aluminum on a raw aluminum lower, it's hard to even tell where you sprayed because it's the same exact color. So take that item, spray it, put it on the rack, air cure it, then pop it in the oven, get it tacked out, take it outside and look at it in the sunlight. And if it's, like, God, I've missed this entire side, put it back in the booth and spray the same color over top of it. It's just like doing a camo pattern, but instead of 2 different colors, it's the same color. So if you're concerned about it, just do that. It may take you extra time, but it'll help you get kind of worked into that. The other thing too, and it's the other thing that we kind of beat into people's heads when they come to training, is you have a shop. There's nothing you're going to do that you can't undo. So, kind of concentrate on going a little heavier. And if you go too heavy, then tack it out real quick, throw it in the sandblast cabinet, knock it off and start over. So, you're not paying someone else to do your stuff. You're doing it yourself. If you mess it up, then just redo it. It's not a big deal. All right. Mangy Badger, moving your Cerakote to my mini fridge. Absolutely, just don't have your beer in there. Let's see, getting a mini fridge. That was one of those little things that I just thought, you know what? I wonder if this will make a difference, and it has made a huge difference with us. The other thing I did, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is they've almost always got a little freezer area up at the top. I tore the door off of that, and I also put my acetone bottles in the freezer, and it just keeps them from evaporating. If they just sit on your bench top in your shop, you may come in the next day and you're down 1.5 or 2 inches of acetone just from being this time of year and the heat of the shop and everything. They'll evaporate, and over a weekend you can lose half a bottle. So just stick them in there with the spouts pointing up, and you got to be kind of careful when you take them out. As they start to really warm up really quick, they'll leak out of the stem. So I'll loosen the tops, and I just don't have that issue. So let's see. ATF, I sprayed at 30 psi, just looked wavy and not smooth. Good to know about the LPH 80. I bought a separate LPH 80 for clear coats. Man, you got more money than I do. I get most of the time I get them from either Walmart.com or I can find them on eBay. But I just get the cheap, almost automotive size guns. My clear coat gun right now looks like it's got a 2-liter bottle sitting on top of it. Huge cup on that thing. And the needle on it's about the size of a pencil lead, but I don't care because I'm not really physically spraying that clear coat on there. I'm just kind of throwing that mist out there. And honestly, once I get it set the way I want it, I don't even touch the dials. I just flush it out with acetone and keep it going. Another quick thing on those cheap clear coat guns, buy 2 if you're going to spray gun candy, because you don't want to use your gun candy gun to spray clear coat. It's almost impossible to get all of that out of there, and you don't want to spray somebody's nice black AR and have a little flake cell in it and sparklies. So have a separate gun for each. David Brown, would you attempt a snake skin pattern that looks like a Timber Rattler? Yeah, it'd be really expensive though. That's that kind of a pattern, depending on the gun too. If it was an AR, it would probably be pretty costly. If it was on like a pistol, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you've got mostly flat parts as opposed to the AR where you got a lot of up and over and around and protrusions. It wouldn't be that hard. A lot of those patterns are just thinking them through and kind of looking at pictures and things and trying to diagnose how they did things like that. If you get ready to start a project like that, find a picture, shoot it to me in a text or something, and I'll try and walk you through as best I can. Mangy Badger, is there any benefit to curing Cerakote above 180 degrees for 2 hours? At 180, it's not going to be 100% as durable as it would be at 250 or 300, but that's your only option for polymer. And also for tumblers. I only cook tumblers at 180. I don't cook them any higher than that because by cooking them upside down, you've got that vacuum and you're going to pull a lot of heat up in the bottom of it. When it comes to optics and red dots, flashlights, things like that, I only cook them at 150. 150 is the minimum that the hardener will actually activate. So, but they're not going to be 100% as hard as they could be. But there's, a lot of times there's just a trade-off that there's no way around it. If that's the look that you're going for, you want stuff to match, you just don't have a choice. But even like, Oakleys and things like that, they're all polymer. It's the same, close relation to the polymer that they use in pistol frames and things. So they go in at 180 for 2 hours and there's not a problem. Let's see. Jose, how long do you keep your simple green before changing it out? Generally around a month, sometimes a little more, a little less. Depends on, what we've kind of had in the shop. If you get some, like older shotguns and things that are going to leach a lot of crap out in there, then I'll change it out a little bit earlier. If it's all been like brand new guns where it's just a little bit of factory oil and things like that, then we generally let it go a little longer. I've got a little glass cup that I'll dip a little bit out and I'll kind of look at it and just kind of judge the color. We put it in there undiluted, so there's no water in it. So, if you get out and it's still that kind of dark green and you don't see a lot of stuff kind of floating around in it, then, it's probably going to be good to go. Let's see. Jose, how long do you generally air cure for? 8 to 10 minutes is generally good enough. What you're doing when you air cure before you put it in the oven is the solvent, that watery stuff that's on top of your coating before you shake it up, is the solvent. So when you air cure, you're letting that solvent evaporate off. So if you go straight from the booth to the oven, you're going to bake that solvent in, and you're going to have these weird kind of wavy, shiny areas in there. So that solvent evaporates out, and your coating also levels down into your etching. So that's what, one, it gets rid of the solvent. Two, it gives you that durability that you're looking for, versus if you just went straight to the oven from the booth, it's only bonded really to the top of that etching. It's not all the way down to that surface, which is going to give you that durability. So 8 to 10 minutes, you probably don't want to go beyond about 25 or 30, because that hardener does start to kind of get hard. It starts to cure out a little bit, kind of soft cure. So, if you've got an AR and you've got 55, 60 parts, then just split it in two. So do 30, set a timer. When that timer goes off, put that stuff in, and you're still spraying the other 30. So they'll batch in two different batches, but you're going to kind of mock the gun up after that anyway, to do your next color. And your next color, you're going to want their upper and lower together. You want the tube on, that kind of stuff. So you'll go from 60 parts down to 40, and that'll be the only time that you have to separate things. So 8 to 10 minimum, no more than about 25 or 30. Thank you, David. We appreciate you watching. Jonathan, thank you for the compliment. I've never minded helping people. I mean, I don't understand the shops that, you call and try to ask them a question, they hang up on you. I get a lot back from people that I interact with where, it's different ideas. I mean, the biggest time-saving piece of equipment in our shop are those magnetic stirrers that we've done a video on. And that came from a guy that watched our videos that just reached out to me and said, hey, this is probably a stupid idea, but I use these. What do you think? That saves me an hour a day minimum of not having to stand there shaking stuff. So that's what I get out of it. And I tend to be snarky, but I tend to be a fairly nice guy. But, just the interaction with people, I enjoy that. So, I don't mind at all, when people call me or email me or send me text messages. So, absolutely. Let's see. David Brown, on Cerakoting scopes, do you blast them? Yep. It's just a metal tube, man. Just tape everything up, tape the lenses up, tape your adjustment marks on the turrets usually, and then just sandblast it. I mean, I do it at about 25 or 30 PSI. You don't want to beat the hell out of it, but you do need to go just take it down to bare metal and then just spray it, cook it at 150, and you're good to go. 150 for 2 hours. Once you've done a few of them, they're really just not a big deal. I mean, we've done some, things that other shops refuse to do, and I've just never had an issue with them. Red dots and things like that. I've cooked $30 Chinese red dots just to see if they would still work, and that they work fine. I mean, $8 flashlights from Walmart, and they still work. So I just don't think it's an issue. If I, get to a point where I find something that doesn't work anymore, then I'll know kind of where the limit is. About the only thing I won't put in the oven is rubber grips, rubber things, like butt plates and hoe grips, things like that. They tend to, I think the hardener makes them sticky and it just doesn't go away. So that's really about the only thing we won't put in the oven. Jonathan, been working a lot to get into this field to better your family lives. Absolutely, man. It's a good industry to be in. It's one of the things that we noticed after the first probably month or so, the whole COVID thing, is it was really crazy how our business actually increased when we figured it would decrease with all the craziness going on. A lot of people out of work, things like that. I think a lot of people, our stencil business especially went up, and I think a lot of people were at home and they just decided to do projects and did stuff. So, but it's a very good industry to be in. When you're comfortable and you're competent with this stuff, you can do some really cool stuff and a lot really fun stuff. I'm first and foremost, we're firearms people. We love cool guns and we like to go shoot. When we get in the new shop, we're going to have an actual little studio area and more employees. So we're hoping that we can free up more time to, build a gun and then go do some range, shooting and things like that, and do some videos of that. Maybe do some comparison stuff. Maybe do, we're going to definitely have our share of full auto stuff and suppressed and things like that. So, our first, one that'll be coming through will be that. We actually have two Uzis coming, a 9mm and a 45. So, we're going to coat those and do some cool stuff with them. And so I'm hoping we can, do a video of all the way through, start to finish with the job, and then take them out and shoot them and have some fun with it. But it's a very good industry to get into, and you deal with some really, really good people and some really nice people. It's really pretty rare that you get someone who, isn't very reasonable and isn't, just a nice person to talk to and things like that. Luckily, we've gotten to the point with our business where we just don't have to deal with those people anymore. So we occasionally turn things down or send people somewhere else just because we don't want to deal with it. So that's the ultimate goal, I think, is to get to the point where you can kind of just do the things you want to do. Does Eric here do a good job? I'm going to give you my opinion on the C series. I'm not a fan of it. I haven't really sprayed it in about 4 years since we started doing H series on scopes and things like that. There's been no real need for it. My two big problems with C series is it doesn't seem like it's as durable, and also the fact that it just doesn't come in a whole lot of colors. So if you were going to felt more comfortable doing C series on a scope, the colors that you choose to put on that scope now limit you on the colors you can put on the gun in order to make it all match. So to me, it makes more sense to just go ahead and put H series on it. So you've got the whole library is open to you as far as colors go. So I'm just not a huge fan of it. I do use the C series clear coat, but other than that, I really don't use it. My stepson's got an airsoft gun in the shop that's got a lot of electronics inside of it. He paid a lot of money for it, and he's not comfortable with it going in the oven. So he did just order some C series, and he's going to coat that. So we'll do a video on that whole thing, just because he's a little freaked out about roaching his airsoft gun that he just spent a ton of money on. So the 3 bottles we have in the shop right now that just came in day before yesterday are first ones I've had in here in 4 years. So we'll do that, and it'll actually be a C series video now that I think about it. Let's see. How long do you leave a gun in the oven if you're going to clear coat afterwards? You bake it out all the way. So you're 250 for 2 hours. Get it out, let it cool. Generally assemble it. Minus, like, you don't want to put, if it's an AR, you don't want to put your selector switch in, because that'll mask off, a little area there. You'll have a little ghost pattern on there, but you do want to plug that hole so you don't get the clear coat in there. But you don't want to get any more of that clear coat on the inside than you absolutely have to, that you can't help it sometimes. So you want to kind of plug holes, pin holes, things like that if don't have the actual pins in them, and then just let it cool down, spray it, and just ignore it for 7 days, and then you can kind of tear it back down and either reassemble if it's yours, or give it back to the customer to be reassembled. Yep, John Griffin, absolutely. Seeing what's big in your area. I mean, around here, we're in the Ozarks, a lot of deer hunters, a lot of turkey hunters. Our local business is a lot of woodland camo. We do a ton of woodland camo. We do a ton of just flat dark earth. So, most of our kind of crazier, maybe take a few more chances type projects are mail-in projects. So, and that's fine. I mean, it all pays the bills, keeps the lights on. So, but yeah, you just kind of figure out doing gun shows is another really good way to figure out what's going to do good in your area, what customers are going to want just from talking to people. So, just do some gun shows, get you a couple of table covers and some good display guns, and go and start doing some gun show stuff and talking to people. Have a bunch of business cards. We give out somewhere around 500 business cards at a normal weekend gun show. So take a bunch of business cards. Don't go there with the goal of selling a bunch of stuff. Go there with the goal of selling yourself to customers. And we'll give out 500 business cards and we'll get 50 new customers. That's a pretty good kind of conversion rate. So we're absolutely happy with that. Let's see. You're welcome, Jonathan. All right. Well, we're at about an hour and 10 minutes, so we're going to go 5 more minutes. So if you guys got any other questions, let's get those in there. I will also, if we don't quite get to things, or if you think of something after we're done, just email me or text me, and I'll be happy to answer this for you. I'm going to try and do more of these. We kind of got a little stretch where we did a few of them and then it fell off. We just got super busy. That's also why we weren't. I tried to upload every Thursday at noon, and for the last probably 2 months, it's been once every 3 weeks. So I'm trying to do better with that. It's just been really, really hectic with trying to get this new shop, get equipment ordered and get construction done and things like that. So it's just been really, really, really hard to get stuff done. And I don't typically like to just do the little 3-minute BS video just to put something up. Anybody got anything else? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate everybody logging on and hit me with the questions. Like I said, we're going to try and do another one in probably a couple weeks. I'll put it out on Instagram. We'll put it out on one of the later videos, and we'll go from there. Ken, we do have a shop. We don't have a store, but if we know you're coming, we'll be happy to have you in. Once we open our new shop we're actually going to be in Hollister, which is just right outside of Branson. We'll have more of a lobby area, so we'll be able to do a little bit more. Couple last minute. Badger, how's the Cerakote holding up on your dunk tank? Like crap. That Cerakote dunk tape, I've heard that they switched to stainless, which is holding up a lot better. The one I got was one of the early ones. It's junk. When we move, because we're using Simple Green, I'm just gonna order. I found a company that will custom make you polypropylene tanks, and we're just gonna go with that. I'm getting rid of the metal one altogether. Thank you, David. Let's see. Compressor, Ramon, compressor moving from hobby to business. As long as it's big enough to run your sandblast cabinet consistently. So tank size is probably more important than a particular compressor. We started out with an 80-gallon, I think, Cobalt off the shelf. It was about $900. One big upgrade that can run you another $1,000, but it's really critical, is an air drying system. So you hear refrigerated air, you hear air dryer. It's basically a mini fridge where the air runs out of your compressor into that. It drops it down to somewhere around 35 degrees before it hits your air system, and it just keeps all the moisture and oil and all the issues you have with that in your lines. It keeps that out of your air. So, but anything, a bigger compressor tank, get the biggest one you can buy. If you can afford a screw drive, which is what we're going to move to when we move into our shop, a dual pump screw drive, it's going to cut way down. It's going to be a lot quieter, which is going to be why we're going that route. But it's also oilless, and so there's no oil changes and things like that. But a bigger 80-gallon or better tank is going to be the best thing, because it's going to give you the most reserve air. Your compressor's not going to just run continuously. It's not going to build up the heat and all that moisture and everything else, and also put an automatic drain on your compressor. Any gun candy videos in the works? Not really, because no one, other than in training, we really don't spray gun candy. Although I do have a customer that we just did a couple of sample the speed shapes that may or may not want some gun candy. So if they do, then yeah, we'll do some gun candy videos on those. How did my interview with the ATF agent play out? Our IOI is awesome. Her name is Vanessa. Very, very nice lady. It went fine. So just like our first one did, just like our second one did. She's very helpful. For the majority, every ATF agent, every IOI I've ever met, I've yet to run into one that's trying to trick you or catch you doing something. We had one small mistake in our book. I'd written something on the wrong line, and she literally just took her pen and drew an arrow and said initial here, and that fixed it. So, nobody loses their mind. They just want you to fix whatever's wrong, and to, do things the right way is all they care about. So it went great. That was about a week and a half ago, and hopefully we're going to have our paper license in hand. I was hoping it would be here late last week, but should be hopefully by Monday or Tuesday. And then our SOT shouldn't take more than about 10 days to 2 weeks. So then we'll be up and running with some fun stuff. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all logging on, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.